This past fall, we introduced a comprehensive and unified initiative to fundraise for Columbia Athletics. We called the fund the One More Fund. The purpose of the fund was to ensure holistic support for all of our Columbia student athletes. We are proud to announce that we were able to meet our fundraising goals and enabled us to properly support each and every one of our student athletes. We're so grateful for the support from our loyal alumni, our parents, and our friends of the program. We were able to raise $3.5 million, including gifts from 5,000 different individuals, and an impressive 35% increase in giving from young alumni. We are so appreciative of each and every one of you for the support that you provided Columbia Athletics and our student athletes during these unprecedented times. We have some exciting events coming up. We'll be heading outside for the Columbia Athletics Virtual Fund Run. Join us for Reunion 2021 on June 2nd for an athletics town hall and to celebrate the return to annual fundraising. Columbia Athletics will be launching a special challenge prior to the end of the fiscal year. Stay tuned for more information in the coming weeks. Thank you, and roar, Lion, roar.
Welcome back, everybody, to our Conversations with the Staff. This is our 12th episode and our grand finale with Coach Bagnoli in our spring town hall. Coach, thanks for sitting down with the alumni tonight.
No, thank you, Greg. It's always good to talk Columbia football and try to get re-engaged with everybody.
It's been a pretty crazy year. A lot of alumni are interested in what's going on with the team and what the future looks like. But do you have anything you want to address before we get going on the questions I have for you?
Yeah, I think just as a general overview, I certainly want to thank our graduating seniors. We haven't really had a chance to interact with them. They've missed so much of our social gatherings where we say thanks and just express our appreciation for all their hard work. So, things as the gold dinner has not been held, for example. So we certainly want to have outreach and understand there's a deep appreciation from our staff and our alumni base and our entire program to all of the things that our seniors have accomplished and for all their efforts and hard work. So that would be number one. And number two is, just to recognize, the programs not only had to deal with COVID, which, the rest of the world has had to deal with, but, we also had two tragedies, with Jackson, Coker, and obviously Parker, just Coogan. And so, again, we've had to deal with two really emotional issues as well that, have been body blows. And so, again, not only certainly want to extend our condolences to both families, but just appreciate the outreach and from our alumni base and our student athletes and teammates following those two tragedies. So it's been a very stressful year, to say the least.
Absolutely. And you want to talk about, we had a couple of staff changes. Do you want to announce those? One's already been announced, and I think one's official this week. So
yeah, the newest guy hasn't been announced is Tyler Henderson. Tyler will come in when we elevated Andrew Kukic to defensive line from the safety position. We were able to go out and hire Tyler, and Tyler has a really good background. He's a young guy, but IMG down in Florida. He's out in the Midwest now, but I think a unique skill set with his dad actually being the secondary coach for the New York Giants. So he's finally officially on board as of yesterday. We have a team Zoom meeting defensively that will be forthcoming that, we'll get to introduce them to our defensive side of the ball, but we're excited to have them. And, I can't say enough positive things about the job that Andrew has done since his promotion. He has worked tirelessly on defensive line play, reached out to all kinds of people to help bring him up to speed. But Andrew is such a hard working, diligent, bright guy that I think, he is going to do a fabulous job, not only on the field, but also in the recruitment, off the field, and everything else. So we couldn't be more excited to have both. And honestly, it'll be nice to finally be fully staffed. It's been a long time since we actually had the entire staff intact. So again, it's been a complex time because of COVID and institutional restrictions and protocols that we've had to follow. But when the smoke cleared, we think we've added tremendous value to those two positions and look forward to what they can present and do with our kids moving forward.
Absolutely. And I think what a lot of the alumni are looking forward to, and you've addressed it, all the issues with COVID and different protocols we had to follow. What was the spring like for the team? How many guys were on campus? What were we able to do?
Yeah, unfortunately, Columbia University had taken a much more conservative approach than our peer schools within our league. And so when they made the announcement that only one class, the senior class, was going to be allowed on campus, it obviously minimized the amount of players that we could have. So when the smoke cleared, we ranged anywhere between 15 and 23 kids that were consistently around during the springtime. The second part of it was we were very conservative in getting our phased in activity approach approved. So it took quite a bit of time before we were able to transition, from Zoom meetings into actual workouts, and then from actual workouts in the weight room to actual workouts on the field, and then transition from what is called phase 0, which is Zoom, phase 1, which is in the weight room, to phase 2 and 3, which are part of your practice structure out on the field. So when the smoke cleared, we had very limited time with them. We only had 3 one-hour practices that we were able to do what you would prototypically call football. And so in terms of drills and at least some movement activities. So, it's not the ideal scenario. It's no one's fault. It's, the byproduct of the Columbia protocols, the New York City protocols, the New York State protocols, and the guidelines of the CDC. So when you factor it all in, those were the things that were presented to us, and we try to do the best we can with the people that we had.
And we obviously met on Zoom. Can you elaborate a little bit? Because I know you hopped in on some of the position meeting Zooms, just how we met with our kids, position meetings, unit meetings, team meetings, and all that.
Yeah, I think given that, we had certainly limited access to people in terms of in person, the next best thing is to try to create as many Zoom opportunities with our kids as possible. And so we had a structure in place where, it was a minimum of twice a week positional Zooms, once a week or once every other week a unit, and every 2 weeks to a month was a total team. And again, I just wanted to make sure that the kids understood that we are still here. We've missed the day-to-day interaction where kids can just walk by your office, stick their head in and say, hey, coach, what about this? I'm having an issue with this. So, we just had to make sure that they knew that we were here. And if they had any issues, and, there were issues with dealing with COVID or being home or trying to take Zoom classes or, trying to figure out a workout program without being in front of our strength coaches, that we were going to be here for them, that we were going to provide some structure for them, that we were going to try to get them into some kind of routine, and then just really give them a forum where we can answer any particular questions, issues, or concerns they may have. And I think one of the byproducts of meeting with them for so long is that technically, because we were able to do so many positional Zooms, unit Zooms, we're technically in a good place. The kids know what to do. It's been reviewed countless times, a lot more than we could ever hope in a typical year where you have certain hour constraints, and that you're always battling. So that's the good news. The bad news is all that chalk talk, board learning, we fail to try to get it on the field. And so we come out of the spring, without having rehearsed, any of these concepts via off-season workouts in the bubble or via spring ball. And so they're still conceptual in nature without necessarily, seeing the practical application, what our kids can and can't do. So that's where it's going to be a premium as we head into preseason camp.
So, but, before we get to the preseason and what's ahead, what does the summer look like for the team? How many guys are projected to be on campus, and what can and can't they do?
Sure. And again, we had to put such an emphasis on trying to get kids back as early as possible. So we've made that, something that, we think will be our saving grace. So, when we start off in early part of May with, summer session A, we'll have, between 50 and 60 kids on campus going through workout programs with our strength coaches and going through some work out in the field, movement work, agility work, etc. And then we take it a step further. We wanted to ensure that we can get the entire group together to do football related things. So we reserved the field on Sunday for a couple hours so we can get our quarterbacks, our receivers, our defensive backs working against each other, try to get some time and, just try to get some chemistry between all these kids. As the summer progresses and we get into May, into June, those numbers are going to increase. And so I think, again, that will bode as an opportunity for us to take advantage of having 60, 70 kids potentially here. And then as we head into July, we're probably going to have the majority of our team minus the incoming freshmen here, which again will be exciting. And you got to remember, we're going to be in a unique scenario where roughly half of our roster, certainly the current freshmen, sophomores to be, and the high school seniors, freshmen to be, we have never either seen in person or worked with in person. And so trying to get kids here so we can get an evaluation of where are they physically, what do they actually look like, how much improvement have they had, how diligent have they been with the workout programs that's been sent to them. I think it will be huge in our ability to hit the ground running once we actually get into preseason practice. So there's a certainly strategy to getting everybody back early to make up for our lack of activity with them during the fall, which was non-existent, and the spring, which was very limited.
So before we talk about the fall, let's talk about recruiting. And obviously recruiting's been really unique, having to be virtual. So what do you think about the incoming class? I know we're a few days away of announcing it, but what do they look like? How did we recruit them, without the traditional in-person evaluations and visits and camps and all that?
Now, it was interesting. I referenced the two tragedies, the Jackson Coker and the Parker Coogan tragedies. And when we went down to Jackson's memorial, it was the first time that we met, a couple of our players in person. And so that is a really weird dynamic. And when we went down to Parker's, it was the first time we met a Houston area. So the other two were Austin area recruits, but so this was just a awakening that, God, we've done everything a million times over Zoom, including recruiting. So we got to know the kids in a 3x5 box on a computer, but we really haven't seen them in person. And we really haven't been able to assess, personalities and everything else. So it's been weird. Now on paper, and again, recruitment is not an exact science, so you have to hedge. This was, certainly as competitive a class as we recruited. Kids had all kinds of options, a majority of the kids that we recruited. The dynamics were much different because, again, you were doing things without any live interperson contact. But when the smoke cleared, we're excited about the group of 29 coming in and about what they've accomplished in high school and what the future looks like. And hopefully they can just continue and transition from being, really good and respected high school players to being really good and respected college players. And, that'll be the key. But I give our staff a tremendous amount of credit. It's not an easy way to try to build rapport with kids and relationships with kids. And, we were minus all of that personal stuff, the, invitations to spring ball workouts, for example, the invitations to live junior days, the open practices where you had unofficial visits during spring, and summer camp opportunities where you get a chance to meet kids and work out with kids and kind of get an assessment of some of their personality traits and competitiveness. And, we've had to do, all of this recruitment minus all those opportunities to see our kids in person. So it's been challenging. I give our staff and, Mike DeFazio, who heads up our director of player personnel, lots of credit for coming creative ways to approach kids. It's put a lot of stress on graphics and, the job that Connor and Jay have done, both from an audio visual and a graphics to kind of help. And again, when you just look at, your lack of content, where historically you were able to put out off-season workouts, you were able to put out spring ball clips, you were able to put out a lot of meaningful things that excite kids. And instead, you've had to approach things differently. It's put a lot of importance on some of those non-conventional areas, such as your audio visual group, such as, your graphics and social media content, and your director of player personnel, because you still have to send stuff out to kids to recruit them.
A lot of outside the box thinking going on.
Yeah, it's been interesting. It certainly has been interesting.
I think that the question everyone is really wondering is, what will the fall look like? Will we have a fall football season?
Yeah.
Will there be fans? And these are questions I know you may not have the answers
Yeah,
to.
no, again, we're cautiously optimistic. The president, and until, obviously given this league, until the presidents come out and officially say everything's a go. But when you talk to the Ivy office, they're already, given preseason reporting dates, for example. We're already having conversations about, how do we handle return to campus? And, I take it as a really positive sign when all the students now have to be vaccinated, when both the faculty and staff have to be vaccinated. That's a really conscientious attempt to get back to normalcy. And I think, we're expecting to have a full preseason. We're expecting to have a full fall campaign. Now, obviously, the quicker we can get that officially in writing, documented, so we can certainly move forward in a lot of areas, will be very helpful. But there's nothing to suggest that we're not going to come back 100%, across the board. Now, it may have some limitations on, what do we do with team meetings? Is that, unit meetings? Is that going to continue to be Zoom? Are we going to get the approval to have positional meetings? How do we handle that? Is there going to be, social distancing guidelines, and how do we handle that? But I think the context of having a full preseason, of having practice, of having contests, and getting back to some kind of normalcy, I think is real.
I think that will be exciting for everybody to hear.
Yeah.
So, one thing I've asked all the coaches in this spring, there's two questions that have been consistent, and you've had some time in the league and you've been here for 6 years now, but what's something special or unique about Columbia and or New York City that just jumps out at you?
And again, that's the word that we actually use more than any other to describe, Columbia. And really, it's a byproduct of being in New York City, and that's uniqueness. There's a really distinct uniqueness about access and proximity to things that our kids have. And again, until you're someplace different, you don't understand the ease of things here, of how kids with $2.75 transit fare can jump on a subway in 20 minutes, experience this whole big world of both professional and cultural and social opportunities, and then turn around and $2.75 come back, okay, and do it within a time frame that doesn't require you missing an entire day. And that's such a unique feature. And so our proximity to things, our access to things, the volume of Columbia graduates who are working in this environment is unparalleled. And I just don't think our kids totally understood it. I certainly didn't understand it coming here, but that's jumped out at me. I think that's a wonderful thing to have, and certainly a huge selling point to kids who want an urban environment. So, that's been really, really good. And then, I think the other thing that goes a little bit understated is certainly just how desirable a place Columbia University is. Now, some of it is the academic reputation. Some of it is where it's located, and I've already referenced it. But this is as hot a school as there is in the United States right now. And, when you have north of 60,000 people applying, that just speaks volume of how attractive the school actually is. And we've got to be able to use that, okay, in our recruitment of talented student athletes.
So it is also a unique and vast food city. And I've had a number of answers.
Yeah.
Got a number of answers, but when you actually do get some free time, do you have any favorite places to eat in the city?
Yeah, I'm a big Arthur Avenue fan, and I do it, because obviously it's close to where we live up in the Arbor, and there's such a multitude of restaurants on Arthur Avenue or just off Arthur Avenue. So, to me, going to Little Italy, there is really something that I've missed. And my wife has missed, to be honest with you, in the last, 14 months. And we're excited to kind of get back to, get to Enzo's and get to Roberto's and get to some of those places that just, are tremendous eat-in venues. And so you get spoiled in New York because there's so many of them. And, one restaurant is better than the next. And there's always that constant argument of which one is the best. Really,
it's always hard to choose.
It's impossible to choose. A lot of it has to do with just proximity and ease of access to get to them, and how much, you want to be hassled to get there. So, for us, it's always a default to go to Arthur Avenue because we know there's 10 restaurants there that are fabulous to choose from, and it's 15 minutes from our apartment.
It's a great choice. Well, yeah. Coach, those are all the questions I have, and in typical fashion, I've just let the coaches close it out. So, sure. The spring town hall, our virtual spring series, this is the conclusion, and the floor is yours.
Sure. Yeah, and again, let me just start off by thanking all of our support people first. Certainly, our strength coaches have been, tremendous. When you have to put together so many different types of workout programs based on what the kids had access-wise going all the way back in the fall. And, some kids had access to full workout machinery and facilities, some kids partial, some kids none. That put a tremendous amount of stress on our strength coaches to come up with creative solutions to that. And so, I want to thank, Bob and his staff for all the work they've done, their ability to access our kids via Zoom and have them videotape workouts and send it to them, and being able to, critique some of the things that they were doing and keep a constant dialogue through their office as well. So, that's been awesome. I want to thank our administrative group. I've already referenced our director of player personnel and Mike DeFazio and Connor Veit with graphics, and obviously Jay Fitch with audiovisual, but the things that they've had to do to create content, and again, the job that you've done working remotely, to try to keep the program moving forward. And again, it hasn't been easy. Certainly want to thank our coaches. As I referenced, we've been understaffed, but they've done a tremendous job of outreach, of just providing a forum for our kids, to learn and for our kids to grow, and hopefully, just be there and just be available to all of the issues that, kids now are faced with, not just traditional issues of adjustments and classrooms and doing everything virtual, but just all the stress that COVID has placed upon them and their families, so, and then, finally our alumni base. And again, one of the really pleasant things I've come to appreciate is just how passionate they are, and just, how accommodating they are and have been and will continue to be. And, that's just been tremendous. And it's really been a honor and a privilege, to sit in this chair and just deal with all these constituents that care so deeply about the school and care so deeply about the student athlete. So, from our end, I just, as I tell our coaches, it's hard to make long-term plans given everything that's been thrown at us, but let's just continue to get better day to day and week to week and month to month. And let's just continue to give our very best in terms of what we ask of ourselves and what we ask of our student athletes. And when the opportunity presents itself, let's all get back together and let's do the very best for Columbia University, Columbia student athletes, and Columbia football. So look forward to the day where we can actually get back and see each other in person, which will be fun. I'm looking forward to some of the social things that hopefully will be in place, like the upcoming golf outing. Looking forward to hosting people during preseason and rookie drafts and some of the things that make us very unique. And, just seeing what we have as we kind of bring, our 120 guys together. So on behalf of everybody here, thank you for everything that you've done, your continued support through all these difficult times, and, look forward to this coming summer and preseason. So stay safe and please stop by if you're in the area. We appreciate everything that you do.
Thank you again for everyone who has tuned in tonight or any of our previous episodes. To close out the spring 2021 virtual season, we want to recognize our graduating class of 2021. Number 11, wide receiver, Darian Akikito. Number 44, linebacker, Lucas Adams. Number 34, running back, Jalen Allen. Number 9, quarterback, Josh Bean. Number 8, quarterback, Dylan Davis. Number 84, wide receiver, Miles Davis. Number 52, offensive lineman, Seth DeVary. Number 32, running back, Alex Philikoris. Number 26, running back, Marquavius Moore. Number 90, defensive lineman, Ogana Aredu. Number 61, offensive lineman, John Rao. Number 51, offensive lineman, Joseph Scowden. Number 13, wide receiver, Josh Wainwright. Number 75, offensive lineman, Isaac Workman. Number 76, offensive lineman, Hank White. Number 33, defensive lineman, Cooper Wilson. Number 71, offensive lineman, Peter Wise. And number 3, defensive back, Blake Wooden. Congratulations once again to our class of 2021 graduates. Thank you to all of our alumni who have tuned in.